Hello, everyone. I hope you all are having a great week once again. I am happy to see you all again. I know you saw me yesterday for our class over Glass Menagerie that was supposed to happen last week. Um, and so today we're going to be covering another play because it is Play Thursday, actually on Thursday. Yay. My name is Chloe Kraus. I am the theater teacher at Baldwin Academy of Dance and Voice. And these classes are made for kids that are from second grade all the way to senior in high school or even college or even adults. It's pretty much for everybody. Um, and this play uh, analysis will be a little bit different than the ones that we've done before. It's going to be dumbed down um, pretty well, just because this is actually a show that I am wanting to do. This is a show that I'm really passionate about, and a show that I really want to see some of our kids put on if it's ever possible in the future. And it's just a really fun show. The first thing that we're going to go over is theater knowledge. So this is something not about the show, but something about theater in general that maybe some of you didn't know, some of you may know, and some of you may just need a refresher on. And so the thing that we're going to cover today is stage directions. What are stage directions? Stage directions are the little parentheses inside a script that tell the direction of what the character is doing. So, sorry, I didn't mean to hit my laptop. So I'm going to try and open here and see. Okay, so somebody says, pray you see the sun. And then in parentheses it says, from out of the sea spray, somebody clings to somebody else. So it's saying the action that is happening. Because when you're reading a normal book, you can write all the actions and everything and reactions of every character. But you can't do that in a play because someone has to enact that. And so it's very important to follow these. Now, directors don't have to follow these to a T, even though technically they do. But most of the time, if actors say, well, it says this in the stage direction, we're like, we don't care. Like, we're going to change it. There are liberties that you can take with stage directions. Most of the time, directors do take these liberties just because some stage directions are just a little too much or a little too little of what they need to have. So another question that is really important to cover, especially after being in theater classes and things like that, is it important to read the stage directions if you're just simply reading the play? And the answer is yes. There were a lot of times in theater history class, especially in the beginning, that you're just wanting to get the play read, you love the story and you're reading all the characters and you just kind of skim over the stage directions. And that's actually really negative because there are some reactions that characters have in the stage directions that are said only in the stage directions and not in the lines themselves that you would never know if you didn't read them. So it's really important to pay attention to those stage directions. So today's play is called Peter and the Starcatcher. This play is based off of the popular obviously the popular Disney classic Peter Pan. It's kind of a prequel to Peter Pan, which is why that was a clue this past yesterday. And so this play is something very different than what we've talked about because this play has over 100 characters. But what they do is that they write it, the playwright by Rick Ellis, or Elise, I don't know if I said that correctly. But the playwright, what he does is that he makes it so that you can do something called doubling, which means that not each character has to be played by one person. But if you want to play it that way, you can. But there is a way to do this show with 12 people, and that's going to be 12 people playing 100 roles. Now if you have more people playing more roles, then there's less than 100 that need to be like covered, if you understand what I'm saying there. And so this show is very it has scenes, but it doesn't at the same time. So it's more of just, there is act 1 scene 1, act 1 scene 4, but the scenes are all scene 5, the Wasp captain's cabin. It kind of gives the location and things like that. I know you can see that, I'm sorry. And so writing the synopsis of this play, especially with what I'm going to want to say at the end about it, I had to be very vague about what happens. So there's a lot of the story that is not covered in the synopsis. And the only reason is because this play is so in detail and so precise about every single thing that they do, whether it's on the ships or whether it's on the island, that I just could not put everything in this. So this is a very, 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 very broad uh, synopsis of Peter and the Starcatcher. So the show starts in the late 1800s, and there's two British ships that are setting sail for the kingdom of Rundoon, which is a made-up kingdom for the show. This isn't like a real place that you can go to. It's made up. And so there's a ship called the Neverland, where we heard that before, that has three orphan boys on board. And they meet a girl on board named Molly, who is the daughter of an English lord, who has tight connections with the queen. And Molly is on board to protect a trunk, so like a treasure chest, of something called star stuff. That is what they call it, which is kind of this magical powdery stuff. And one of the orphans, who is named Boy, that is what his name is in the show at the beginning, is just kind of this like bitter, unpleasant, just like leave me alone kind of kid. But once he meets Molly and kind of gets to know her, he comes out of his shell and he turns into kind of this really nice, loving, happy character. And there is a second ship at this time called the Wasp, which Molly's father is a famous star catcher, which is how he has the star stuff. And he is guarding a decoy trunk, so decoy treasure, from pirates that are after the treasure. So there's the Neverland with Molly, who has the actual treasure, and then there is the Wasp with her father, that's their ship, that has the decoy, so that the pirates go after that one instead of getting the real treasure. The captain of this pirate ship is called Captain Blackstash. I assume that he has a big old mustache. And he figures out that the real treasure is on the Neverland. And he decides to go after the Neverland. And so the boys and Molly are trying to protect the treasure from Blackstash, and a huge storm hits and destroys their ship. And after all of this happens, they get on an island, and and then Boy, I keep forgetting that's his name sometimes, and then Boy is encountered by Blackstash, and Blackstash gives him the name Peter. And he says, he tries to convince him to become a pirate, that's the life for you. And they end up, Peter, the other orphans, and Molly all end up on this island. They're all there, and they go on a lot of adventures. Now, this is the part where I'm kind of dumbing it down a little bit because I don't want to give away the whole story. But they go on some adventures. Peter and Molly eventually, kiss and kind of have this little romantic little story. And by the end of the show, Peter, throughout their adventures, Peter jumps into something that is kind of like a lake or water, and it has the stardust in it. He has been guarding it this whole time, and by the end of the show, Molly and her father realize that Peter cannot leave the island after being exposed to so much star stuff, and that the island inhabitants will have to be his friends, his family now. And Molly's dad decides to use the last of his star stuff that he has to create a pixie out of a bird to stay with Peter. So Peter will never truly be alone. And Peter, because of the exposure to the star stuff, is now the boy who never grows up. And he kisses Molly goodbye and watches them leave the island. So this is where the end of the show gets really interesting, and I really like the tie-in. Years later, Molly sees her daughter Wendy fly off with Peter. So we all know that Wendy went with Peter Pan. She's happy because finally, somebody can watch over Peter again, because she, couldn't go back. And at the end of the play is kind of looking back at the memory of the Lost Boys and Peter, and them realizing that if they went into the water, so the Lost Boys going into the water that had the star stuff in it, that they would become, that they would be Lost Boys as we know them in Peter Pan, where they do not grow up. And this is also, when they look back at this memory, this is also when Peter flies for the first time. So that's the end of this synopsis. I know it was not as in-depth as a lot of the ones that we've done before, but there's a reason for that. And that is because I really would love to do this show at the BADV. I would love to get the kids involved in this show. I think it's such a fun exposure to a classic story that we all know, but also like new things. It's also a good learning experience, learning how to play not just one character at a time, but several, and how to switch back and forth between those. And there's a big enough cast that we could have, more than just the 12 people I mentioned at the beginning. So the themes for this show, the first theme is that power is hard to resist. And I think this goes back to Black Stash a bit, because it's hard to resist the power of wanting like this magic and this never aging ability, and that should not be, power should not be your only goal, that it can be kind of toxic to some people, and that power should be used for good and not for bad. The second one is friendship. Obviously, the Lost Boys, Peter and Molly, are all friends. They all stick together and go on this adventure together and eventually survive together. Obviously, Molly has to leave with her father, but it's the friendship that helped them make it through this journey. And the last one is the greatness of being young. That's kind of the only way that I could put it. To remember that even if you aren't age-wise young, that it should be important to keep your youth up, that it should be important for you to feel youthful at times, not all the time, but to feel youthful at times, and to be able to be happy feeling youthful and to share that with other people. So once again, I would love to do this show at the BADV. I think it would be an awesome show to kind of start with and see, the level that our kids are at. I'm not saying we're going to do that. I haven't talked to anybody about this. I literally just got the script for my birthday and read it, and I was just like, this is a cool show. I would love to do something like this if it is possible. Obviously, right now with everything that's going on, I'm not saying that we're doing this. Please don't take it that way. I just would love to do this show. So I know this was a little bit shorter than most of the Play Thursdays, but after working golf camp since 7 o'clock this morning, I am just, this is about as much as we are going to get. So if you have any questions, comments, anything like that, please put them in the comments below. Also, if you have suggestions for Musical Monday or Play Thursdays, please put them in. Once again, like I said, at the end of every episode, we will be doing Hamilton once it comes out on Disney Plus, so we can all watch it together and then go back and analyze it. Normally at this time, I would do Musical Monday clues, but I have not picked a musical yet for Monday. So if you have musicals that you want to look over that are not Hamilton or not anything that we've looked over before, then let me know and we will do that on Monday, because I would love to do that. So I hope you all have a great rest of your week. I hope you all have a great weekend. Happy Father's Day to our fathers out there. And I hope that you guys keep creating. I will see you guys on Monday.